The Three Gorges Dam is the biggest power station ever built, and nobody can give you a clean number for what it cost. The figures land somewhere between roughly $28 and $37 billion, depending on who is counting and what they count. But here is the part that should stop you. Inside that bill, one line is bigger than the dam itself. Pouring all that concrete, building the wall that holds back a river, was not the most expensive thing China did here. Moving people out of the way was. That is the real story of this dam, and almost no one tells it. Let's start with what they promised. When the project was approved back in the 1990s, the official Chinese government estimate was about 180 billion yuan. In American money, that is roughly $22.5 billion. That was the brochure number, the figure the country was told it would pay to dam the Yangtze River. It did not hold. By the time you fold in everything, the construction, the equipment, the loan interest piling up year after year, the inflation over 2 decades of building, the real cost climbs to somewhere between $28 and $37 billion. The lower end is just the engineering. The high end is the audited total, with all the financing baked in. Either way, it overran the promise. So where did the money actually go? We have a real, itemized account, because by the end of 2008, China had spent about 148 billion yuan, and someone added up the lines. Construction of the dam, the actual wall, and the turbines and the locks came to about 64.5 billion yuan. That is the thing you picture when you think of this project. The concrete. But sitting right next to it on the books is another line, and it is even larger. Relocating people, 68.5 billion yuan. Read those two numbers again, side by side, because most people never see them this way. Here is what the headline cost hides. Moving people out of the flood zone cost more than building the dam, not a little more. By the end of 2008, relocation came to nearly half of everything spent, more than the concrete and the turbines combined. The single most expensive part of the world's largest power station was not the power station. It was emptying the valley behind it. The reservoir would rise hundreds of feet and stretch for hundreds of miles upstream, all the way toward Chongqing. Everything in that water's path, towns, farms, factories, whole cities, had to be gone before the gates closed. And gone is a clean word for something that was not clean at all. Officially, about 1.4 million people were displaced. Think about that figure for a second. 1.4 million people told their homes were going underwater, moved off land their families had farmed for generations. That is the government's own count. Some critics say the true number was higher, as many as 1.9 million, spread across more than 1,000 towns and villages. And resettlement was not the soft landing it was sold as. Families who were moved reportedly saw their incomes fall by about 20%. They were promised new homes and new work, and many of them ended up poorer than before, in places they never chose. And then there is the money that never reached them. The resettlement budget was enormous, but not all of it arrived where it was supposed to. A government audit documented more than 270 million yuan of relocation funds embezzled or misused. China itself later admitted the problem, acknowledging that the money meant to rebuild lives had in places been stolen along the way. So picture the full chain. The largest single cost of the dam was moving people. Those people were often left poorer for it, and some of the money meant to soften the blow simply disappeared. That is the line the headline cost will never show you. There is one more cost, and it does not appear in any budget at all because the river is still sending it. When you fill a reservoir this size, you load an unimaginable weight of water onto the ground, and the ground answers back. Between 2003 and 2009, scientists recorded around 3,400 earthquakes in the area around the reservoir. That is roughly 30 times the number the region saw before the dam. Alongside them came thousands of documented landslides and geological hazards along the new shoreline, as the rising and falling water ate away at slopes that had been stable for centuries. The dam was supposed to tame the river. In some ways, it woke the land up. So after all of that, what did the world actually get? The most powerful single machine on the planet. The Three Gorges Dam is the largest power station ever built, with an installed capacity of 22,500 megawatts. In a normal year, it generates around 95 terawatt-hours of electricity. To put that in scale, that is about 20 times the output of the Hoover Dam. It is so massive that filling its reservoir actually nudged the planet. NASA calculated that lifting that much water higher lengthened the Earth's day by about 6/100 of a millionth of a second. A rounding error you will never feel, but a real, measurable fingerprint left on the spin of the world. This is not a vanity project that produced nothing. It is a genuine engineering wonder that lights up a huge share of central China cleanly. The achievement is real. That is exactly what makes the rest of the ledger so hard to weigh. So what did the Three Gorges Dam really cost? In dollars, somewhere between 28 and 37 billion, and even that is contested. But the honest answer is that the dollar figure was never the whole price. The biggest line on the bill was not the concrete, it was the people. More than 1 million of them moved so the water could rise. Some left poorer than before. Some of the money meant to help them was stolen. And the land beneath the reservoir still shakes today. So was it worth it? Read the power meter and the answer is yes. A clean engineering wonder lighting up central China. Read the relocation files and the answer is no. Both are true at the same time, and a country has to live with both. Next, we leave the ground entirely and put the most expensive object humans have ever built on the scale. The International Space Station, and what it really costs to keep people living in orbit. Every figure you just saw is traced to a named source, listed in full in the description below.